Oh my God, the billionaires and capitalists are so terrified that Mamdani might be the mayor of New York City. He's got a 10-point lead. He used to have a bigger lead. He's got 43% voting in the polls. Cuomo, I think, is 33%. There's 7% of the voters in New York that were polled are still undecided. The election is next week, November 4th, and it is heating up, and everyone's going nuts. I like Mamdani because both parties hated him. When he's crushing, Cuomo, he crushed him in the Democratic primary. Cuomo is now running as an independent, and he's getting some money back. Of course, they say he's a confirmed anti-Semite. No, he's not an anti-Semite. He said something in the debate. Everyone was polled in this debate in June, I believe, or July. Where would you do your first day as mayor? All of these said, first day as mayor, I'm flying to Jerusalem. And he goes, my first day as mayor, I'm staying to work in New York City. And everyone called him racist. Well, the pro-Israel crowd called him anti-Semitic for that. Why is it anti-Semitic? If he said my first day as mayor, I'm going to Mecca, people would have lost their minds. So I'm going to call out the insanity. And my name is Graham Elwood. You're watching the Bitcoin Vigilante. So that's what's happening in New York City. The Democratic Party is going to try to either co-opt him or crush him. That's the thing. That's why you're seeing now AOC and Bernie. I was a Bernie supporter, but both Bernie and AOC have been very, very co-opted by the Democratic Party, and he is a threat. Why all these capitalists and billionaires are going on Twitter getting all mad? They're always like, socialism is bad. All of these big rich guys, and it's like, they're always screaming about how bad socialism is, but how can you explain to me how capitalism is so good? Capitalism, if it's such the greatest system in the world, why does the United States need 800 military bases to protect it? Mamdani is going to ruin New York City. I've been to New York. I was there in May. It's having a lot of problems, and that was with a Republican mayor. That's with an utterly corrupt two-party system in New York. It's just corrupt as far as the day is long. Like all of this homelessness, that's capitalism. Socialism doesn't have homelessness. And why? It's usually like baby boomer, like Republican capitalists that they hear the word socialism and they think, like they hear democratic socialism, they just hear socialism, they just think the Soviet Union's going to tell you what factory to work in. And like one guy quoted a thing from Margaret Thatcher. I was like, oh God, she was a union buster. Margaret Thatcher was pretty awful for the working class of England. So they're a threat by this because what Mamdani is talking about is working class issues, affordable housing. New York City used to always have some type of affordable housing 30 years ago. Doesn't anymore. LA doesn't have it anymore. He's talking about working class issues. And many of these issues were created by the United States government printing money. It's fascinating to me when I hear Bitcoiners who are big Bitcoiners and like, we don't like the Federal Reserve, we don't like the money printer, but we're afraid of socialism. I don't get it. That doesn't make sense to me. But then I've always been politically homeless and I'm a unicorn, man. They just don't get it. But I want to show you two things. So first, before we get into what Robert Breedlove says, I just want to show you this right here. Look at this. A 55-year-old man wearing MAGA for Mamdani was on the streets saying he voted for Trump twice, but now he's making a switch and voting for Mamdani. This is the first time I'm voting Democrat, he said. I like his policies because that's a thing that the wealthy Republicans they're maybe missing. One of the things that got Trump elected was his populist policies. He said, I'm going to help the working man. I'm going to put America first. I'm going to bring a job back. That's what Trump said. That's what he ran on. That's why some of his base now is like, hey, wait a minute. Shutting down all of these federal agencies, when Trump was like, I'm getting rid of all these jobs in the beginning of the year when he first got sworn in and everyone was cheering. I'm like, there's Trump supporters are in there. There's people who voted for Trump who have lost their jobs. The tariffs are hurting the average working American family, right? They're hurting everybody. He ran on a working class populist thing. The wealthy Republicans got behind him because they're just going to go with whoever's going to win. But these wealthy Republicans don't know what it's like to go to the grocery store and not have enough money for stuff. They don't know what it's like to have $700 in their checking account and $1,000 worth of bills, and they're staring there going, I don't know, we got to do something. We got to just not pay this bill. We got to cut back on this and cut back on that. They don't know what that is. They don't know what that is. They live in a very privileged, delusional life. So they just like, socialism is bad. They get all panicky because socialism means they might have to pay their fair share. And I'll say this, till the day I die. In democratic socialism, you can be rich, just no one can be poor. You can have a big, nice house with rooms you don't use and cars you don't drive. Just no one can live on the street. And that's what Mamdani is promoting, or those are what his policies are. But they're going to do everything. But when both parties line up to crush you, every time it happens, and every time somebody is a true outlier within one of these corrupt parties, Ron Paul crushed him, Dennis Kucinich crushed him, Bernie crushed him, AOC let her win, and then co-opted her, and now she sings she plays ball with the Democratic establishment. And then, and then the right wing's like, oh, she's a Kamala Harris is a Marxist. Define Marxist before you say it. Tell me what a Marxist is. Have you read it? Tell me what a Marxist is. Don't just repeat something Sean Hannity said. Tell me what a Marxist is. Anyway, but let's go back to why. This is Robert Breedlove, who, if you're in the Bitcoin space, he's a big Bitcoin proponent. So this is the thing that the Bitcoin billionaires, the rich guy Bitcoiners, are missing. They just don't, because they're not working class people. They don't know what it's like. So this is Robert Breedlove talking about the $5 or $6 trillion that was printed during COVID in 2020 and how it's crushed out. I'm going to tie all this together. Watch.
Central banking is an institutionalized system of time theft, because ultimately the fruits of your labor are a product of your time or energy, right? Time and energy used synonymously here. We printed $6 trillion in 2020, right, in the US. The average annual US salary is $60,000 roughly. That's 100 million years stolen, right? Through the counterfeiting of currency. If each human works from the age of 20 to 70, so that's about 50 productive years per human, the counterfeiting of $6 trillion USD equals the stealing of 2 million human lives worth of productive labor. Right? This is to try to make it real, like it's a real massive problem. And then of course the plausible deniability that's built into inflation, right? It's Putin's fault. It's Beyonce's fault. It's the supply chains. It's everything but the central bank. So again, we're back to that romantic lie, the deception and the stealing going hand in hand. I think this is hopefully what we can deliver as Bitcoiners, is pulling back the veil on this bullshit.
Could not say it better myself. And what he's talking about has created this stealing of our time, this printing of wealth by the central banks. And who had their SBA loans and their PPP loans forgiven? It was Wall Street, big companies. Gee, that's socialism. The government paying you. That's socialism. As I say this directly into my microphone. I still am paying back my SBA loan. I know comedy clubs that went out of business because they were told to shut down for a year and a half, and they got loans, but they weren't forgiven. So working class Americans, we don't get socialism. That's why we want it, because we see how nice it is for the Wall Street people, but also what Breedlove is talking about in that printing of money and stealing of our time. If you made $1,000 a week 5 years ago, you had more purchasing power with that $1,000 a week. But 5 years later, that same $1,000, and you haven't been getting, your salary didn't double. You're not getting $2,000 a week now, right? 52 weeks in a year, he said that average salary is about 50, 60K. Let's call it 50, 60K. So $1,000 a week. 52 weeks a year, 50 grand, whatever, something in there. You can't afford housing at $1,000 a week, making 50, 60K a year. You can't afford your groceries. You can't afford to go on a vacation. What kind of life is that? And that's all done by the ruling elites. There's 8 billionaires that have as much wealth as the half of America. People have full-time jobs and they're living in their cars. People have to get side hustles just to survive. And that's why Mamdani is resonating with a lot of people, because he's coming in with actual populism. Right-wing populism is fascism. That's what Trump runs on. Those brown people, the immigrants stole your job. An immigrant didn't steal your job. A billionaire did. A billionaire stole your job. This is why I'm a Bitcoiner, because every average American can just own Bitcoin, and any piece of Bitcoin you buy, it's a piece that a billionaire can't own. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. I'm tying all this together and people are like, huh, how do you do this? Because it makes perfect sense. If you're not stuck in some socialism is Stalin coming to steal you. Oh God, they're such crazy propagandized crybabies to listen to these billionaires, even the Bitcoin ones. I don't get it. Because everything that Robert Breedlove just said in that interview is what has crushed the average American. That's why your grocery bill is higher. That's why your gas bill is higher. That's why your insurance bill is higher. The number one cause of bankruptcy in America is medical debt. And that's why Bitcoin is a way out of this. And so is democratic socialism. They're so scared. It shows their greed when they get all mad and scared at socialism. It shows their greed. They've been profiting. They like that there's homeless people. They like that there's people living on the streets while they have 10 yachts. They like that. They like being in their penthouse in New York City. They don't ever have to take the subway. They like that. And Mamdani's a threat. I hope he wins, but if he does win, be careful that the Democratic Party is going to start to co-opt him and say, yeah, Tone, that was just campaign rhetoric. You need to come back into reality, which is what they did to AOC. Took her 18 months. 18 months she was co-opted. She's live tweeting her freshman orientation of Congress, how there was no labor representative, and all we're doing is hearing from lobby groups. She's in a direct Twitter fight with Nancy Pelosi. 18 months later, she's calling her mama bear, wearing big dresses at the Met Gala. They bought her. They give her that taste of that good life, and then she'll start playing ball. And that crazy Democratic lie of, we'll get him, not now. Don't be too extreme now. We'll get him down the road. That's the centrist nonsense that I've heard for 4 decades. So if billionaires don't like somebody, then more than likely I'm going to like them. If both parties, which are funded by the billionaires, both parties get money from the billionaires and the Wall Street and all that stuff. Since both parties don't like Mamdani, then I like him. It's that simple. Then I like them. So we'll pay attention to this. We'll watch this. And this is, again, I tie it in, buy Bitcoin. And I'm in the Bitcoin space, so I hang out with a lot of these billionaires, and I got to listen to them say this ridiculous stuff. Socialists are zero-sum thinkers. No, socialism is a reaction to out-of-control capitalism. That's what it is. When you make it so hard that people can't afford basic necessities, socialism is their only hope. So if you don't like socialism, stop being so goddamn greedy. Instead of buying another yacht, why don't you buy some affordable housing? Oh, you socialists want everything for free. You billionaires don't pay anything. You guys acquire assets that you probably inherited, or you stole someone's idea, and that's how you became a billionaire. You do legalized gambling on the stock market. You cook the books and corrupt that system. You make your money in some sort of crooked way. Then you buy assets, you borrow money against that assets, and you never have to pay taxes. You were born into wealth and privilege, but you say you worked hard. It's like someone in the NBA. if you're born tall and athletic, you have to work hard to make it into the NBA. It's not just a foregone conclusion. And if you work hard, you can become a professional and there's really good basketball players that play Division I that never make it to the NBA. In the G League that never make it in the NBA. They go up there for a little bit, never make it. That's how good everybody in the NBA is. But you have to be born tall. I'm 5'10". Not a lot of 5'10" guys in the league. Not a lot of 5'10" guys. If you're 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", you better shoot like Steph Curry, the greatest shooter ever. So I'm this unicorn. I'm a Bitcoin leftist. I'm a Bitcoin socialist, and I don't fit into the Bitcoin space. And then lefties don't understand Bitcoin, and they think, Graham, Bitcoin is just that thing for rich guys, and Trump likes it. If you're against Bitcoin because Trump's for Bitcoin, that's like saying all vegetarians are Nazis because Hitler was a vegetarian. Okay? It's been the story of my life. I fit in everywhere and nowhere because everyone wants you to be on their team and agree with them lockstep. No, no, no. Buy Bitcoin, get into a cold. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Buy Bitcoin. This is what I'm doing. Buying Bitcoin, putting it on a cold wallet, and saving it so that when the economy collapses, I'm not dead. I'm not like, oh, when there's a run on the banks, it won't matter because I keep very little money in traditional banks. And that's when Bitcoin adoption will get really ramped up. Or pick a team, red, blue. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. Shave your knuckles for justice. Support what we're doing, guys. Billionaires don't support me. Billionaires do not support me. They hear that I'm a Bitcoiner and they're like, okay, cool. And then they're like, wait, but he's a socialist. Oh, and they get all scared. They get their little silk panties in a bundle, their little insignia on their butt cheek, lie in their silk sheets in one of their yachts and just, Graham is a socialist. He's scary. Socialism scares me. They're going to come take it all. That's fear. Everything is rooted in fear. All evil is rooted in fear. I'm a Christian. And I'm against socialism. Jesus was a socialist. What you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me. Uh-oh. Caught you in another one. All the money, connected ads, get the truth. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.